Hi family, welcome back to Vintage Mike Tales. I just want to say thank you for being here, for watching, liking and supporting the channel. Your love and encouragement mean the world, and I'm so excited to share today's story with you. Let's dive in. The morning rush hit like a wave, loud, fast, chaotic, just the way she liked it. Inside her New Jersey restaurant, the air hummed with the clatter of pans, the hiss of simmering sauces, the rhythmic slam of oven doors. Servers darted around her, the scent of rosemary and garlic thick in the air. Anna moved through the kitchen, with the calm authority of someone who built this place from the ground up and refused to let anything or anyone shake it. Black skin glowing under the heat lamps, curls tucked into a neat bun, apron cinched tight around her waist. Her voice carried strength as she called out orders, checked plates, corrected seasoning, and made sure her staff stayed sharp. "Check table 4's garnish," she said without even looking. "It needs more color." "Yes, chef," her sous chef responded immediately. She lifted a tasting spoon, sampled the stew she had been perfecting all week, and nodded. "Good, serve it." Everything was smooth, controlled, predictable, exactly how she needed it to be. She did not have room for chaos, not in her kitchen, not in her heart, not after everything she's been through. A song drifted from the speaker system, soft and familiar, and her chest tightened before she could stop it. It was the same song her ex played the night he told her he needed space, hours before she caught him giving his heart to someone else. Her hand froze on the counter. Not today. She reached over and turned the volume down until it was barely a whisper. No music, no memories, no distractions. She had a business to run, and emotions were not part of the menu. The front door slammed with a force that made her knives vibrate. She did not have to look up to know the energy in the room shifted, sharp, commanding, borderline invasive. Her staff glanced toward the entrance, their expressions changing from confident to cautious. Then she heard it, a deep voice, impatient, clipped, used to being obeyed. "I need to speak to the owner now." Anna wiped her hands on her apron and stepped into the dining area. "You are looking at her," she said, meeting the man's stare with calm, unbothered confidence. "What can I help you with?" The man standing before her looked like he walked straight out of a corporate battlefield. Tall, broad-shouldered, mid-30s, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His blue eyes were ice and storms, and his jaw ticked as if the morning had already tested him. Frank Brandon. She recognized him the way most in the city did. CEO, intimidating, always in headlines and rarely smiling. Great, just what she needed. He crossed his arms. "Your catering manager will not pick up her phone." "Because she's off today," Anna replied evenly. "I asked her to disconnect. She has worked 3 consecutive 14-hour shifts." "Then someone else should have answered," he said without missing a beat. "I need a tasting for a corporate gala. It's in 2 weeks, but I want the tasting done tonight." "Tonight?" "That is what I said." Her staff exchanged looks, fearful ones. This was the kind of man who did not hear no. And yet she lifted her chin, shoulders squaring. "That is not how we operate. We do not rush quality or overwork our people to accommodate last-minute emergencies, especially not ones that could have been scheduled earlier." His eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in surprise that someone dared talk back. "You are turning down business?" "I am turning down disrespect," she said simply. A beat of silence passed, heavy, tense, electric. Then he exhaled a long, irritated breath. "Fine. I will take whatever tasting you can manage now." She studied him. Everything about him screamed impatience. Yet something else flickered beneath it. Fatigue, pressure, a man stretched too thin for too long. She tucked the thought away. Sympathy was none of her business. "Give me 10 minutes, she said coolly. "And sit. You are blocking my entrance." His brow lifted as if no one had ever spoken to him that way. But he moved. Of course he did. She returned with 3 tasting dishes, small plates, perfect portions of flavors she trusted more than she trusted people. As she set them down on the table, he spoke again. "Is this everything? I said I need options for a full-course dinner." She leveled him with a stare. "And I said 10 minutes, not 10 hours. He leaned back, arms crossed, gaze sharp. "You run a business, do not you want clients?" "Oh, absolutely," she said, her tone sweet but lethal, but not the kind who think snapping their fingers is the same as planning. The corner of his mouth tightened. You have quite the attitude, and you have quite the ego, she countered. Someone behind her coughed into a laugh. Frank shot a look over her, shoulder so cold the poor server practically vanished into thin air. Anna did not budge. This man was not going to bulldoze her. Not in her restaurant, not in her life. Eat, she said firmly. He gave her a look that could melt steel or freeze it. But he lifted his fork and took the first bite, and everything changed. It happened so fast she almost did not catch it. His fork paused halfway to the plate. His expression shifted, barely, subtly, but enough. The ice in his eyes thawed. His jaw loosened. His shoulders dropped half an inch. Softness fleeting but real. He tasted another bite, slower this time, then another and another. She watched the transformation. Quiet, unwilling, almost intimate. A man who seemed built for hardness, suddenly softened by something he did not expect. Her food. Her heart fluttered once, then she crushed it back down. He finally set the fork down. This is... He cleared his throat. Good. That was it. That flicker of vulnerability, only to be hidden behind bluntness again. Just good? She asked, arms crossed. He hesitated, tiny but enough to tell her the truth. It was more than good. It hit him somewhere deep, somewhere he was not ready to admit. It will work, he said instead. She rolled her eyes. Wow, I am overwhelmed by your enthusiasm. His gaze snapped to hers, irritation flaring. Do you always have something to say? Yes, she replied instantly. Do you always hide what you feel? The question slipped out before she could stop it. His entire body stilled. For a moment, just a moment. He looked like a man standing too close to a truth he had spent years avoiding. Then he blinked, the hardness returning. Send the invoice to my assistant, he said, standing abruptly. She stepped in front of him, blocking his path without fear. Hold on. You walked in here barking orders and acting like the world owed you something. You could at least say thank you. He stared at her like he could not decide whether to be annoyed or intrigued. Fine, he said quietly. Thank you. There it was, the softness again. It unsettled her more than the attitude. He moved past her, headed for the exit. She followed a few steps behind, needing the space back, needing her rhythm again. But when he reached the door, he stopped and turned, his voice lower. You have talent, he said simply. Real talent. Thank you, she replied, surprised by the sincerity. He hesitated again, as if he wanted to say something else. His eyes flicked over her face, lingering too long, too knowingly. Have a good day, he finished. You too. He opened the door and stepped out. The moment it closed behind him, her chest tightened unexpectedly. She hated that. She hated the flutter, the curiosity, the spark she did not ask for. He irritated her, challenged her, pushed buttons she did not even know were uncovered. And yet she caught herself staring at the door long after he was gone. Why did he linger? Why did his voice echo? Why did she feel anything? Across the street, Frank slowed as he approached his car. He exhaled and pressed a hand to his jaw. What the hell was that? He came for food. Instead, he left thinking about a woman with sharp eyes, a sharper tongue, and a presence that did not bend. Not even for him. He opened his car door, paused, and muttered under his breath. Why her? Neither had an answer, but both walked away with the same unsettling truth. They had been pulled, drawn in, caught off guard by something neither of them asked for, a collision neither could shake. And the spark had only just begun. The next 2 weeks were supposed to be simple. Meetings, menu adjustments, schedules, and nothing more. But nothing about working with Frank Brandon turned out simple. Every time Anna convinced herself she did not care, he would walk into her restaurant again, tall, sharp, commanding, and her pulse would betray her. Every time she tried to be strictly professional, he would say something infuriating. Then something unexpectedly gentle that left her guard slipping before she could catch it. The gala was approaching fast, and Frank's corporate world bled its way into Anna's kitchen, far more often than she planned for. Meetings, tastings, menu revisions, schedule changes, logistics. He came with his clipped tone and relentless precision. She met him with unwavering calm and the kind of honesty that made him grit his teeth and stare too long. They clashed daily, loudly. But beneath every argument, there was heat simmering too close to the surface. On Wednesday morning, he showed up before she even opened, leaning against her restaurant counter as if he owned the place. You are early, she said, brushing past him. You are late. It is 7:30. I said what I said. She shot him a look that should have burned through his suit. "You are impossible, and you are disorganized. Excuse you." He held up her notes, torn paper edges, scribbles, arrows pointing everywhere. "This looks like a toddler's treasure map." She snatched it from his hand. "This is called creativity. It is called chaos." "Well, chaos tastes better," she muttered. He tried not to smile, but she saw it. The tiny tug at the corner of his mouth, the small crack in the armor, and she hated that it did something to her. They worked side by side for hours, their shoulders brushing occasionally, each touch sending an uninvited jolt up her spine. He noticed too. She could tell by his sharp inhale every time it happened. Chemistry was an inconvenience neither needed, yet it grew louder with every passing day. During a break, they sat across from each other at one of the empty tables. He was on his phone, expression tense. She caught pieces of the conversation, something about budgets, about his brothers, about fixing messes that were not his. When he finally hung up, he looked tired, not frustrated, not arrogant, just tired. "You okay?" she asked softly. "Do I look not okay?" "You look heavy." His jaw flexed. He let out a breath and leaned back in his chair. "I have been taking care of them since I was 19, he murmured. "My brothers, my mother. The company." He rubbed his temples with slow, weary fingers. "Feels like I have not taken a breath in years." Her chest tightened. She was not expecting him to give her anything real. Not him, not Mr. Steelwalls. But here he was, letting something slip through the cracks. "Do you ever stop?" she asked gently. "I do not know how." Anna's heart stung with something warm and uninvited. "I used to feel that way," she admitted, carrying too much, giving too much, loving too much. He stared at her, really stared. "Someone hurt you that badly?" "Yes," she whispered. "And I promised myself I would never lose myself for love again." His eyes softened in a way that made her breath hitch. She stood abruptly. "We should get back to work." He nodded slowly, though his eyes lingered on her like she had given him a puzzle he needed to solve. One Friday night, the rain came without warning, sheets of heavy water slamming against the windows, wind howling through the alley. She was closing up alone, everyone already gone home. When the lights flickered once, twice, then the building went dark. Anna froze in the sudden silence. "Are you kidding me?" she muttered, fumbling for her phone. The power outage hit the whole block. A transformer went out. Repairs could take hours. Her freezers, her inventory, everything she needed for tomorrow's prep. Her heart raced with panic. She called 3 emergency electricians. No answer. This is not happening. She paced the kitchen in the dark. 10 minutes later, headlights flashed through the front window. When the door burst open, soaked and irritated and out of breath, Frank stood there. "What happened?" he demanded. "What are you doing here? You were not answering your phone." She looked down. 15 missed calls. "Why were you calling me?" "Because the storm hit your block. I figured you would not have backup." He lifted a generator from his trunk, heavy and professional grade, along with cables and flashlights. "You came all the way here just for that." "For the food," he said sharply. But his eyes told a different story. "Move back, you are blocking the outlet." She stepped aside as he worked, water dripping from his hair, his soaked shirt clinging to him. The generator hummed to life. Light returned. "Thank you," she said. "Could not have you ruining my gala." "Right," she said softly. "That is the only reason." He did not answer. They stood in the warm glow of the emergency lights while the storm raged outside. She noticed it first. The way he was staring at her, really staring, like something in her face pulled him in. His voice dropped, low and rough. "You okay?" No sarcasm, no shield, just sincerity. She swallowed. "Yes, I just did not expect you." He stepped closer. "I did not expect you." Her breath caught. He was inches away, rain dripping, eyes locked on hers with a hunger that felt both unfamiliar and inevitable. Her pulse raced. Her body leaned toward him without thinking. His hand lifted, almost touching her chin. "Anna," he whispered. She felt the pull, the heat, the unspoken question. He leaned in slowly. Her lips parted. Her heart pounded. Then she flinched back. "Do not," she whispered. "Please do not." His eyes widened with hurt. "I cannot," she said, backing away. "I cannot start something I already know will end with me breaking." He took a step forward. "Anna, no, you do not have space for this. For me. And I do not have space for another heartbreak." Silence fell around them. He swallowed hard, jaw tightening. "Right," he said finally. "Of course, Frank, it is fine." It was not. He grabbed his coat and headed for the door. "Frank, wait." "Good night, Anna." He did not look back. The door slammed. She pressed her hands to her face as her heart thudded painfully. Why did rejecting him hurt more than falling for someone ever had? Why did he look at her like he meant it? Why did she feel like she had just destroyed something neither of them understood? "I cannot do this," she whispered into the empty kitchen. "I cannot." But her chest ached with the truth she already had. Morning came and went, without either of them acknowledging the other. Days slid into a tight, aching silence. Neither would admit hurt. Anna buried herself in her restaurant, moving through each shift with her jaw clenched and her heart locked down. She wasn't avoiding him, she told herself. She was being practical, reasonable, safe. But every time the door opened, her chest fluttered before she forced it back into stillness. Across town, Frank worked like he had something to outrun. Meetings, calls, deadlines, anything that kept him from thinking about the moment he almost kissed her. The way her breath hitched, the way her eyes softened before fear slammed them shut. He told himself he didn't care. He told himself she did him a favor. He told himself everything except the truth. He missed her. They crossed paths only when absolutely necessary. Tight nods clipped words, eyes that refused to linger, even though lingering was all either of them wanted. And the closer the gala approached, the more unbearable the distance became. Anna felt it like a bruise beneath her ribs. Frank felt it like a fire he couldn't put out. But neither of them broke. Not until gala night. The venue shimmered beneath chandeliers and soft gold lights, filled with the hum of polished shoes on marble and the scent of expensive perfume. Frank stood near the entrance, straight-backed, immaculate in his tailored navy suit. People greeted him, praised him, shook his hand. None of it registered. His mind was on the doorway. And when she finally walked in, he forgot how to breathe. Anna looked nothing like the closed-off chef he sparred with daily. Tonight she glowed, her slim black gown hugging her curves, her curls swept into a soft updo, warm skin catching the light like it was made for it. Confidence draped over her shoulders like a second skin. But beneath it he saw something else, a vulnerable softness she never let him see. She didn't see him yet. She moved through the room with that purposeful elegance. That always irritated him because it made him aware, too aware of everything he felt and tried so hard to suppress. Then a man at the bar turned toward her, dressed well, smiling too wide, and his eyes lingered on her in a way that made Frank's jaw tighten until something sharp flickered in his chest. Jealousy, ugly, unexpected, overwhelming. He crossed the room before realizing he was moving. Anna was laughing politely at the stranger's compliment when she felt a familiar heat beside her. Not warmth, heat, that unsettling presence that always put her nerves on alert. "You're late," Frank said, voice low and tight. She stiffened but didn't look at him. "I didn't realize I was required to check in with you." "You weren't, but you could have told someone." "Why?" she said coolly. "Would you have worried?" He didn't answer. His silence was louder than a confession. The stranger looked between them, amused. "Is this guy bothering you?" Frank's head snapped toward him, blue eyes darkening. "We're working together." "Interesting," the stranger said with a grin. "Because something tells me there's more." "Have a good night," Anna cut in quickly, grabbing a champagne flute and walking away before either man could ruin the evening. But Frank followed. She felt him before she heard him. "You didn't have to walk away," he said behind her. "Was I supposed to stay there while you glared him into dust?" "That's not." "Yes, it is." She turned, facing him fully now, eyes fierce and unafraid. "You can't avoid me for weeks, act like I don't matter. And then suddenly get territorial." "I'm not territorial." "Then what was that?" His jaw clenched. "I didn't like how he talked to you." "It was a compliment, Frank, not a proposal." "That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" she demanded. "Because I'm tired of guessing." He dragged a hand through his hair, frustration radiating from him. "The point is, damn it, I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" He looked at her like she already knew, and she did. They stood there in the middle of the ballroom, the world spinning around them, neither willing to make the next move. Music swelled, people danced, glasses clinked, but all Anna felt was the ache between them. Building and breaking at the same time, Frank took a step closer. Every time I look at you, he said, voice rough, it feels like I'm walking towards something I can't handle. She swallowed. Then walk away, she said gently. I tried. Try harder. He laughed, but it was hollow, broken. I don't want to. Her breath caught. He looked almost wounded, but then fear flashed across his face. And he stepped back like he needed the distance to breathe. She felt it immediately, the pull snapping, the warmth fading, the moment slipping. Why are you so scared of feeling anything real, she whispered. Because feeling something means losing something, he shot back, voice rising. Every time. That's how it's always been for me. She stared at him, stunned. You're punishing me for someone else's sins. It's not about punishing. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, all you're doing is running. So I'm trying to survive, he said through gritted teeth. And I'm trying to live, she whispered, eyes shining. But I can't do that with someone who's already halfway out the door. His breath trembled. You think I want to be like this? I think you're terrified of wanting me, she said softly. Because if you want me, you can lose me. She turned to leave, but Frank grabbed her wrist, his hand warm and shaking. Don't walk away, he said. It wasn't a command. It was a plea. She faced him slowly. His blue eyes were brimming with something raw, something real. I don't know how to keep people, he admitted, every word cracking. My father left when I was 10. No goodbye, no explanation. My family pretends it didn't destroy us, but it did. And I swore I'd never need anyone enough for them to hurt me like that again. Anna's heart squeezed. She had known he was guarded. She didn't know he was shattered. I'm not him, she whispered, and you're not that scared little boy anymore. His jaw trembled. And I'm scared of you, she whispered, voice breaking. Let's be honest. You could ruin me. I've loved before, loved until I was stupid, and it left me with pieces I'm still trying to glue back together. So don't think you're the only one terrified. Silence wrapped around them, thick, charged, unbearably intimate. I don't want to lose you, Frank said softly. You can't lose what you never gave yourself a chance to have. That broke him. He cupped her face, and she didn't pull away this time. Their foreheads pressed together, breaths mingling. You drive me insane, he murmured. Good. He let out a shaky exhale, and then his lips found hers. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was fire-meeting gasoline. She kissed him back with everything she'd been holding in, hands sliding to his shoulders, pulling him closer. He backed her into a shadowed alcove, breath ragged, body trembling like he'd been starving for this. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were misted. Come with me, she nodded. His hotel suite was quiet, dim, warm. The moment the door closed, they were on each other again, his mouth tracing her jaw, her fingers sliding through his hair. Clothes fell away, not rushed but desperate. Two people unlearning fear with every touch. He held her like she was precious. She touched him like he was breakable. And when they finally made love, it wasn't sharp or angry. It was slow, tender, trembling. The kind of intimacy that rewrote wounds instead of deepening them. She let herself feel everything. So did he. Dawn brushed through the curtains in soft gold. Frank woke first, tangled in sheets and warmth, listening to the steady rise and fall of her breathing. Anna lay beside him, face soft in sleep, looking younger, less burdened. He lifted a hand, gently brushing a curl from her cheek. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked at him like she still couldn't believe he was real. And in that quiet morning light, he realized something he had never let himself feel. He wanted a future with her. The morning after the gala changed everything. Not because of the softness of their bodies tangled beneath the sheets or the sweetness of their whispered breaths, but because, for the first time in years, both of them woke up with hope sitting quietly in the room, waiting to see if they'd acknowledge it or pretend they didn't see it. Frank woke first. He lay on his side watching Anna sleep. Her curls spilled across his pillow, her hand loosely curled, against his chest as if her body trusted him before her mind did. He'd never been held like that, never been chosen like that. It scared him. It steadied him. She stirred, her lashes fluttering, and when her eyes opened, she smiled softly, one of those slow, involuntary smiles that stripped him down to the bone. Good morning, she murmured. He swallowed, brushing a thumb across her cheek. Morning, but underneath the warmth, fear curled like a shadow. For both of them, the first week of being together was tender and careful. Frank arrived early, handing her a warm croissant and coffee as she unlocked the restaurant doors. Anna brought him dinner at night in his office. They kissed in her kitchen. They held hands when no one was looking. But love didn't erase old wounds. It only pressed against them, testing their strength. One night she walked into his place after closing the restaurant and found him sitting alone on the edge of the couch, head in his hands. "Frank," she whispered. He looked up, startled, almost guilty. "I didn't hear you come in. Are you okay?" He nodded. Then he stood and paced like the floor had done something wrong. "I'm trying," he said finally, his voice raw. "I'm trying not to mess this up." Her chest tightened. "You're not messing up anything." "You don't know that." "Then tell me." He stopped pacing. His shoulders sagged. "You could do better than me," he said quietly. "Better than a man who spent most of his life fixing everyone else's problems and still can't figure out how to fix his own heart." She crossed the room, cupping his jaw gently. "Frank, I don't need you perfect. I just need you present." He kissed her forehead with a soft, shaky breath. But the fear didn't disappear. It simply waited for a moment to strike. It happened 3 weeks after the gala. Anna came by Frank's office unannounced, wanting to surprise him with lunch. She rounded the corner into the hallway just in time to hear him pacing, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and clipped. "Reschedule my meeting with Anna. Just push everything back. I need space to think." A quiet voice from the side interrupted. "She came early, already on her way to your office, sir." Frank froze mid-step, heart thudding. Anna froze behind the hallway corner, clutching her bag. Her heart dropped so fast she could feel it echo in her ribs. Space, think, reschedule her. Her mind spiraled instantly, painfully, wildly. He's pulling away. He's changing his mind. He's leaving. She backed away before she could hear anything else, ducking behind a corner, holding her breath. By the time Frank ended the call and stepped out of his office, she was already gone. Frank noticed something was wrong immediately. Anna stopped answering his texts. Then his calls. Then she said she was busy 3 days in a row. The fear he tried so hard to bury roared to life. He drove to her restaurant after hours, not caring that the chairs were stacked or that the lights were dimmed. He pushed open the side door and found her, wiping down the counter with movements too fast, too sharp. "Anna," he said, breathless. She didn't look at him. "We're closed." "I don't care." "Go home, Frank." "No." She finally looked up, and her eyes were wounded in a way that punched the air out of his lungs. "You're leaving," she whispered. "I heard you." "Heard me what?" "Tell your assistant you needed space, that you wanted to reschedule our meeting so you could think." Frank blinked, stunned. "Anna, no, that wasn't about us." She laughed, a broken, quiet sound. "I'm not doing this again." "Frank, I'm not begging someone to stay who doesn't want to. I never said I don't want to stay." She stepped back, her voice trembling. "I can't fall for someone who's already halfway out the door." His breath stilled. And then everything cracked open. Frank crossed the room in 3 long strides. "I asked her to reschedule," he said quietly, "because I was going to pick out a ring." Anna stared at him, stunned, speechless. He ran a hand through his hair, his voice cracking. "I was terrified. I didn't want to rush you. I didn't want you to think I was pushing you. But I knew I couldn't keep pretending what I feel for you is casual." Her lips parted, trembling. "Frank, you think I'm pulling away," he whispered. "I'm scared to death that you'll leave. Like my father did. Like every woman who decided I wasn't enough." She shook her head. "I'm scared too, Frank. Loving someone like you, it could destroy me if it goes wrong." He looked at her, really looked, and his entire body softened with something fragile and real. "Then destroy me too," he whispered. "At least we'll be destroyed together." Her breath hitched, and the moment shattered. He cupped her face with both hands, his forehead dropping against hers. "I love you," he whispered, voice trembling. "I love you, Anna. I don't want space. I don't want distance. I want—" She kissed him hard, desperate, tears on both their cheeks. He pulled her closer, closer than the air allowed, lifting her onto the counter, her legs wrapping around him, her fingers digging into his shoulders as if holding on for dear life. Every fear, every wound, every unspoken longing, it all melted into that kiss. That night, they didn't make love like people falling into bed. They made love like people finally taking off their armor, after years of fighting a war no one else could see. Slow, tender, devastatingly emotional. his whispers against her skin, her breathless moans, his hands cradling her like she was something fragile and precious. Her fingers tangled in his hair as if she finally believed he wasn't going anywhere. When it was over, he held her against his chest, their breath sinking slowly. "Don't leave," he whispered into her hair. "I'm right here," she murmured, kissing his heart. "I'm not going anywhere." 2 days later, no grand setup, no perfect lighting, no audience. Just Frank in Anna's restaurant after closing, standing in the middle of the dining room with a small, velvet box in his hand and nerves shaking through his body. She walked in and froze. "Frank." He swallowed hard. "I'm not good with speeches." She smiled softly. "I know, but you're the first place that's ever felt like home to me." His voice cracked. "And I don't want to keep waiting for the fear to go away. I just want you." He opened the box with trembling fingers. "Marry me, Anna." Her eyes filled instantly, tears slipping down her cheeks one by one. "Yes," she whispered, stepping into his arms. "Yes, Frank, I'll marry you." He breathed out like he'd been holding that air his entire life. They kissed in the quiet glow of the restaurant lights. Two people finally choosing each other without hesitation. 6 months had passed. New Jersey summer sunlight filtered through the backyard garden where they stood, surrounded by flowers and a handful of people they trusted. Frank saw Anna walk down the aisle and immediately broke. He didn't hide it. Didn't try to. Tears streamed down his face, unashamed, as if watching the love of his life walk toward him rewrote every painful memory he'd ever carried. Anna reached him, gently brushing a tear from his cheek. "Still here," she whispered. He nodded, swallowing hard. "I know." They exchanged vows, simple, honest, trembling. When he kissed her, the entire world felt like it held its breath. That night in their New Jersey home, rain tapped gently against the windows. Frank pulled Anna into his chest as they lay wrapped in blankets, her fingers tracing slow circles against his skin. She lifted her head slightly. "I'm not afraid anymore," she whispered. Frank kissed her forehead, her cheek, her lips. "I'm never going anywhere," he murmured against her mouth. She smiled, soft and full of the kind of peace she once thought she'd never have. And as he held her, their bodies warm and tangled, the house settling around them, love finally felt like something that wasn't leaving. Something that stayed. Sunlight poured through the wide bay windows of their New Jersey home, warming the hardwood floors and the gentle chaos of morning. Anna moved carefully through the kitchen, her swollen belly a soft curve beneath her blouse, balancing a tray of pancakes for the twins. Emma and Olivia chattered happily at the table, sticky syrup on their tiny fingers, curls bouncing with every giggle. "Careful, Mama," Emma warned, pointing at the pancake stack. "I got it," Anna laughed, setting the tray down. She rubbed her belly instinctively and smiled at Frank, who was crouched on the living room floor, assembling a train set with Olivia. His broad shoulders leaned forward, his expression softened by concentration and love, the usual tension in his jaw replaced by quiet adoration. "Breakfast is ready," Anna called, and the twins squealed, abandoning their toy chaos to dive at the table. Frank leaned back on his heels, eyes meeting hers, and for a moment, the noise of everyday life fell away. "You look amazing," he murmured, voice low, almost a whisper as he watched her move. She rolled her eyes playfully, but the flush in her cheeks betrayed her pride. 3 years, Frank," she said, brushing a curl from her face, "and somehow you still make me feel like the only person in the world." He rose, closing the small distance between them. He bent to press a hand gently to her belly. "And now there's 3 tiny hearts counting on us," he said, voice catching just slightly, his thumb brushing over her soft curve. "I don't know how I got so lucky." Anna rested her hand over his, warmth spreading through her. "We built this," she whispered. "All of it. Together." Their eyes locked, a shared understanding passing silently between them. Years of fear, of heartbreak, of learning to trust again, condensed into this quiet, perfect moment. The twins clamored for their attention, tugging at their hands, giggling. Frank scooped up Olivia first, spinning her gently, then Emma, laughing as she tried to wriggle free. Anna's laughter joined theirs, ringing bright and unguarded, and for a moment, the house was filled with pure, chaotic joy. Later in the soft afternoon light, Frank and Anna sat side by side on the couch. The twins were napping, their small chests rising and falling in rhythm, blankets tangled around them. Frank's hand rested on Anna's belly, and she leaned her head against his shoulder. "You think they'll ever understand how much we fought for this?" she asked softly. He pressed a kiss to her temple. "They'll feel it. They'll know love when they see it every single day." Anna closed her eyes, taking a slow breath, letting herself feel the life growing inside her. The warmth of her family around her, the steady pulse of a love that had survived everything. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not of us, but of how much I love them already. I don't want to mess this up." "You won't," Frank whispered, tightening his hold. "We're learning as we go, and no matter what, I'll never let anything break us." She smiled, eyes glistening. "You promise?" He tilted his head, lips brushing hers in a gentle, lingering kiss, always. She rested her hand over his, their fingers entwined, and together they sat in the golden light, hearts full, home alive with laughter and warmth. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the promise of a future they'd fought for, a love that had stayed stronger than ever. And in that quiet, perfect moment, with two little hearts asleep nearby and one more on the way, they knew, truly knew, that this was the life they were meant to have. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I love reading your thoughts and seeing your support. It truly means the world. Stay tuned for more stories, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. With a heart full of gratitude, Vintage Mike Tales.